Money is never just about mathematics. If it were only about numbers, then why do some of the smartest people go bankrupt? Why do those with financial degrees drown in debt, while a humble vegetable seller quietly builds a fortune? The answer lies here. Money does not live in the bank, it lives in your mind. And most of the time it is not governed by logic, but by emotion. Face this truth. You can be a genius at analysis, but if you cannot control greed, fear, envy, or pride, you will lose to yourself, not to the market. Here is the strange part. The most important financial decisions are not made on Wall Street. They are made after dinner, in silence, triggered by a single comment that brings back your childhood, by the memory of your parents arguing over money, or by the deep-seated belief that you are never good enough to be worthy of success. Money is a mirror that exposes the truth about who you are, not how much you have, but how you respond when you do or do not have it. And that is where the real game begins. Money does not live in your wallet. It lives in unconscious reactions, in the untold stories you absorbed as a child. You think you are making decisions based on logic, but in reality, you are replaying memories. I used to believe financial success was a formula. Earn more, spend less, invest wisely. But then I realized this. People do not go bankrupt because they cannot add, subtract, multiply, or divide. They go bankrupt because of fear, because of greed, because they try to prove their worth by buying things they do not truly need, for people they do not even truly like. I have sat in courtrooms witnessing marriages fall apart over money, not because they did not earn enough, but because money represented so many other things: power, safety, pride. A husband refusing to share finances with his wife is not necessarily stingy. It is because he grew up in a home where his mother was abandoned in poverty. A woman drowning in debt from shopping is not necessarily ignorant. It is because, deep down, a designer handbag feels like a temporary ticket to feeling worthy in a judgmental world.
Money is a metaphor for unhealed emotions. You invest or avoid risk not because you are inherently skilled or inept, but because your subconscious is saying either play it safe or win at all costs, depending on what you have lived through in the past.
Morgan Housel calls this financial DNA, the inherited financial code each person carries. It is not written on paper. It lives in the way your parents spoke about money when you were young, in their eyes when the end of month bills arrived, in the way they argued or stayed silent, and no two people are the same. That is why two individuals with the same income and the same environment can have completely opposite financial behaviors. From there, you begin to see that success with money does not come from how good you are at predicting the market, but from how deeply you understand yourself. You cannot beat the market if you are losing to yourself in your own mind. This truth may startle you. Every financial decision you have ever made, even the worst ones, made perfect sense to you at the time, given your life experiences. No one is crazy. No one is stupid. They are simply living in their own version of the world, a world shaped decades earlier, without them even knowing what they were learning. Money is a silent test of self-awareness. And if you do not start with yourself, no financial strategy can save you. Have you ever spent money just to feel more worthy? Have you ever invested simply because you feared missing out? Maybe you do not need more financial knowledge. Maybe you need healing. Why can the smartest people go bankrupt? Because money is not a logic problem, it is an emotional test. If you think of money as just a tool, be prepared to change your perspective. In the next part, I will show you why the moment you were born can shape the way you invest without you even realizing it. You do not see money through the eyes of reason. You see it through the lens of your childhood. Imagine two people standing before the same investment opportunity. Same numbers, same risks, same potential returns. One jumps in without hesitation, the other steps back cautiously. This is not because the first is braver or the second is less informed. It is because each grew up in a completely different financial reality. One saw their parents profit from the stock market in 1995, while the other watched their family lose everything during the 2008 crisis. They are not reacting to the numbers. They are reacting to memories. Money, in truth, is not just a tool. It is an inherited memory. Morgan Housel calls it financial DNA, the financial code shaped by circumstances, personal history, and generation. Someone born in 1970 saw the S&P 500 rise nearly tenfold during their formative years, so they tend to trust stocks. Someone born in 1950 saw the market stagnate for the first 2 decades of their life, so they are more cautious. Those who came of age during hyperinflation tend to be obsessed with the value of money, while those born during times of economic stability are often more careless with risk. You are not simply the product of your genes. You are the product of your timing. And so we all behave rationally in the way we have been programmed to in our own world. A person who avoids investing is not stupid. Their life experience taught them to do so. A person who takes big risks is not necessarily greedy. They may have never experienced a devastating loss. Behind every financial decision lies a psychological map, one that most of us have never seen, let alone updated. That is why no one is truly crazy with money. We are simply living in different models of reality. There is no one formula that works for all. And financial success does not start with learning how to invest. It starts with asking yourself, who did I learn about money from? And how has that experience shaped me? This is the moment to pause and think seriously. If what you believe about money was shaped by circumstances you did not choose, are you willing to choose again today? Leave a comment. What did you learn from your parents about money, and how is it influencing the way you make decisions now? If this content helps you understand yourself better, like the video and subscribe to keep exploring the hidden side of money with me, the place where reason bows to memory.
Are you spending money to heal something you do not even realize? Maybe you are not shopping, you are searching for a sense of safety.
The wealthy are not always great with money. Sometimes they were just born at the right time. What about you? If financial success is a psychological game, do you understand yourself well enough to win? In the next part, I will reveal why Buffett is not rich because he is the best, but because he has been more patient than you might think. If you think skill is what determines wealth, take a closer look at the life of Warren Buffett. His talent is no secret, but there is something far more important that most people overlook: time. Buffett is not just a great investor, he is a persistent one. Starting at the age of 10, he let time do what nothing else can, turn consistency into magic. By the time he was 30, his net worth was about $1 million. Impressive, yes, but not extraordinary. What is extraordinary is that he kept investing in exactly the same way. Simple, steady, consistent for more than 70 years. The result? Nearly 99% of his wealth, over $81 billion, came after the age of 65.
Pause and think about this. If Warren Buffett had spent his younger years on travel, cars, or anything that satisfied short-term desires, and only started investing seriously at 30 like most people, his wealth, even at the same annual return of 22%, would be around $11 million. Still impressive, but almost 99.9% less than his actual net worth.
This is the point most people refuse to see. Speed does not beat time. Knowledge can help you move faster, but it is time that takes you further. This truth applies not only to money, but to every area of life. It is not the most talented person who wins, but the one who stays committed to the right values and refuses to quit halfway. The most successful people do not always have the highest returns. Look at Jim Simons, one of the greatest investors of all time, with an average annual return of 66% since 1988, an unimaginable number. Yet his total net worth is still 75% lower than Buffett's percent. Why? Because he started too late. When Simons truly began his investment journey, he was already 50. Buffett, on the other hand, had a 40-year head start. And that time, like a quiet river, multiplied Buffett's wealth exponentially. You might think, that's not fair. I can't go back in time to start earlier. But that is not the lesson here. The lesson is start and do not stop. Do not let today pass without doing something for tomorrow. Do not underestimate a small investment, a good habit, a disciplined action each day. They are not small. They are the seeds of the miracle. The power of compounding is not just for money. It applies to trust, integrity, skills, relationships, and even courage. Every time you do the right thing, even without seeing immediate results, you are building. Every time you say no to the easy way, you are multiplying your inner value, and over time, those seemingly ordinary actions will create extraordinary outcomes. Buffett did not win because he ran faster. He won because he never left the track. And if there is one thing you should take away from this, it is this: time will always stand on the side of those who know how to wait. There is one thing most of us get wrong. Negative emotions are more powerful than reality, especially when it comes to money. When the market drops, you panic. When inflation rises, you worry. When someone shows off their profits on social media, you feel behind. But if you look back at the history of global finance, you will see a simple truth we keep forgetting: things tend to get better over time. We live in an age where bad news makes the headlines, while progress hides in the fine print. A crisis can cost millions of jobs, yet a decade of technological advancement, educational reform, or increased life expectancy gets lost in the noise. A 40% market crash in 6 months is remembered, but a 140% gain over the next 6 years is rarely mentioned. The reason is clear: pain arrives faster than joy. Disasters are sudden, while achievements take time. A plane crash may keep you from flying, even though millions of other flights land safely each year. A sudden drop in your portfolio can make you cash out, even if it had grown steadily for the past decade. This is not just a perception issue. It is how our brains are wired. Pessimism bias makes us react more strongly to losses than to gains of the same value. It is a survival instinct. But if you are not aware of it, you can spend your whole life playing defense against the future. I have worked with people haunted by the fear of losing money. That fear kept them from investing, expanding their businesses, or living up to their full potential. They were not poor because they lacked opportunity. They were poor because they refused to give the future a chance, all because of scars from the past. Optimism does not mean blindness. It is simply the belief that I can withstand the fall and the world can recover. The reality is, after every crisis, the economy grows stronger, the market climbs higher, and people become wiser. Morgan Housel once said, "Good things take time." And that is the problem. We are impatient with the good, but give our full attention to the bad. So if you find yourself easily pulled into negative news, if you notice your mind reacts more strongly to losses than it celebrates wins, do not blame yourself. It is a reflex, but do not let it control you either. People who succeed financially are not fearless. They have simply learned how to keep their faith in the middle of the storm, and that, more than any strategy, is their greatest advantage.
There are times when you do everything right and still see no results. Meanwhile, someone else does less, prepares less, yet wins big. In that moment, it feels unfair. But if you do not understand the role of luck and risk, you will live in the illusion of control.
Bill Gates is a genius. No one denies that. But behind that genius was an almost impossible probability. In 1968, only one high school in Seattle, Lakeside, had access to a teletype Model 30 computer. Out of 300 million students worldwide at the time, only 300 had the chance to work with a computer as teenagers. Gates was one of them. Without Lakeside, there might never have been Microsoft. And within the same group of students who learned to program with Gates was Kent Evans, a bright, promising young man who might have written technology history alongside Gates. But Kent died in a mountain climbing accident before graduation. Two people, same opportunity, same ability, yet two outcomes. One became known as a genius, the other never had the chance to prove it. This is not a lesson about fate. this is a lesson in humility. You can do everything right and still fail. You can make mistakes and still succeed. That is not a reason to give up, but a reason to stop judging. We live in a world where risk and luck are constant companions of achievement. Morgan Housel compares them to wind and waves. You can adjust your sails, but you cannot control the weather. You are the captain of the boat, but you are not the ocean. In the world of finance, you need to understand this more than anyone. Do not see someone become wealthy and think you must copy their every step. Do not see someone fail and assume you are smarter than they are. There are too many variables you cannot see: timing, opportunity, illness, accidents, emotions, and pure coincidence. When you understand that success comes not only from effort but also from circumstance, arrogance fades. When you understand that failure is not always the result of mistakes, self-punishment stops. You learn to move forward with gratitude when luck smiles and with resilience when risk calls your name. I have met remarkable people who followed every rule, acted with integrity, yet still had to sell their homes due to a medical crisis. I have also seen careless investors who happened to be in the right place at the right time and changed their lives overnight. Life is not fair, but it always runs on probabilities. And if you stay patient and clear-headed, you can still win over the long term. The question is not, are you certain you will succeed? The question is, are you humble enough to keep going even when you cannot control everything? You think you need more money to be happy? The answer might surprise you. What you are truly looking for is not money, it is control.
Happiness does not come from how much you have. It comes from being able to choose what you do, with whom, when, and for how long. You can drive a luxury car, live in a mansion, own millions in stocks, but if you cannot decide how to spend your time, you are still poor in freedom.
Morgan Housel says, controlling your time is the highest dividend money pays. And I have seen this in every courtroom, in every backstage conversation, in every client who came to me quietly. They were not searching for a bigger number in their bank account. They were searching for something they had never had: the ability to say no without fear of loss, the ability to rest without feeling guilty, the ability to live slowly without life forcing them to rush. We live in a world that defines success by busyness. The busier you are, the more important you seem. But the truth is, the less control you have over your time, the more easily you are controlled by other people's needs, expectations, and judgments. And no matter how much money you earn, you are still a prisoner of your own schedule. Research has shown there is a point where additional income brings very little increase in happiness. But autonomy, the ability to do what you want, is consistently the strongest driver of life satisfaction. Why do so many people become more anxious the richer they get? Because they trade time for money, then use money to buy back time, but it is never enough. They work overtime, they race ahead, they sacrifice relationships and health to accumulate something they never have time to enjoy. It is a cycle without an end, where the more you have, the more you fear losing it. Those who understand the value of time live differently. They do not need to buy everything to prove themselves. They do not chase the expectations of the crowd. They understand that freedom does not come from accumulation, but from intentional choices. You could start tomorrow by waking up a little earlier, doing a little less, but spending more time on what truly matters. Not because you are lazy, but because you have realized time is the only unit of value that cannot be bought back with money. Success, in your definition, might be a mansion and a 7-figure bank account. But happiness, in its truest form, might simply be a morning without an alarm, an evening without checking emails, a Tuesday spent sitting beside your child without asking anyone's permission. And that is the highest form of wealth.
There is one thing most people do not understand about success. It does not come from being right all the time. It comes from a few moments of brilliance.
In the world of finance, this is called tail events. Rare, seemingly unpredictable occurrences that end up driving the entire outcome. An investor might make hundreds of decisions, most of which yield nothing extraordinary. But if just one of those decisions turns into an Apple or an Amazon, the whole picture changes. Heinz Berggruen, an art collector, did not become wealthy by picking the perfect piece every time. He bought hundreds, even thousands of works. Most were unremarkable, but a few happened to be by Picasso, Klee, Matisse, and those few alone made him a legend. We all want to be right often, but the wise know you do not have to be right many times. You just have to be right deeply. This is true not only in investing, but also in creativity, careers, and relationships. A writer might produce thousands of draft pages. Only one book gets published. An actor might play hundreds of small roles. Only one launches them to stardom. An entrepreneur might try and fail over and over. Only one well-timed idea sparks a breakthrough. The problem is, most people cannot wait. They quit on attempt number 7 while success was waiting at number 8. They pivot because 90% of their projects are not working without realizing that success is not about batting average, it is about staying long enough to meet the right pitch. Jeff Bezos understands this. When the Amazon Fire Phone failed spectacularly, he did not apologize to shareholders. He said, "If you think this is a big failure, we are working on much bigger things. Some will make Fire Phone look like a blip." And from those daring experiments no one else wanted to attempt came Amazon Prime and AWS, two massive profit engines that today make up most of Amazon's value. You only see the final success. You do not see the 99 failures behind it. But those who create real success are always willing to walk through all 99, not because they enjoy failure, but because they understand that one right move can erase every wrong one. It is like a Netflix comedy special. You only laugh at the best parts. But to get those 10 perfect minutes on stage, the comedian has to test hundreds of jokes in hundreds of tiny clubs no one remembers. So do not fear being wrong. Do not think you have failed just because 9 out of 10 ideas did not work. If you are persistent enough, if you play long enough, if you accept the randomness of luck, you will reach places most people never do. Success does not require you to always be right. It requires you to still be there when the right thing happens.
There is something strange about wealth. Those who are truly wealthy rarely feel the need to prove it. Because real wealth cannot be seen with the naked eye. It is not in what you show off, but in what you choose not to spend.
We live in a world where image is everything. Luxury cars, expensive watches, grand mansions, all silent declarations of, "I've made it." But here is the painful truth. Many people who look rich are drowning in debt. They own big-ticket items, but have no lasting reserves. They are buying an image, not a future. Morgan Housel puts it clearly, "Rich is what you see. Wealth is what you don't." True wealth is not the car you drive, but the money you refused to spend on it. It is the portion you keep, invest, and let time grow. Every time you do not upgrade your phone, do not buy another pair of shoes just to keep up with trends, do not chase comparisons, you are building real wealth. The problem is, this kind of wealth is hard to see, so it is also hard to admire. We are drawn to what is flashy. Someone in a luxury car is instantly seen as successful, regardless of whether their finances are sustainable. Meanwhile, someone who lives simply, invests quietly, and exercises restraint goes unnoticed. And so we learn the wrong role models. The truth is, spending does not require discipline. Accumulating does. Holding on to money, investing it, saving it for long-term goals, that is a game requiring far more strength. It demands resisting temptation, going against social norms, and escaping the pressure to prove something. It requires understanding that future freedom is worth more than temporary recognition today. Housel calls this quiet restraint, a quality that is hard to build but is the foundation of all sustainability. What makes real wealth so unique is that you cannot show it off instantly. You can only feel it in the future, when you no longer have to work just for money, when you can rest without fear, when you live by choice instead of by force. Think about this. What would happen if you stopped trying to prove something to others? If you stepped out of a race with no finish line, if you used money not to show what you have, but to protect what you love, life would be lighter, freedom would be greater, and you would step out of a society of consumption into a life of self-mastery. Wealth is not a destination. It is the way you walk, quiet, unshowy, but unshakably strong. Imagine you are standing at the foot of a mountain. At the top lies the view everyone dreams of: financial freedom, a peaceful retirement, a life free from money pressure. You begin to climb, but before long, the rain starts pouring. The path grows slippery, the signs disappear, and doubt creeps in. Should I keep going? When it comes to money, most people dream of the summit, but refuse to pay the price for the climb. They believe there must be an easier route, a shortcut, or worse, a magic formula that will spare them from risk, pain, and uncertainty. But the truth is, no one reaches the top without breaking a sweat.
Morgan Housel compares the market to buying a car. You have three choices: buy a new car, buy a used one, or steal a car. A new car is expensive but high quality, like long-term investing in the market with the expectation of strong returns. A used car is cheaper but riskier, and stealing a car, that is the equivalent of people trying to cheat the market, trading constantly, dodging risk, avoiding volatility. But you already know, stealing a car never ends well.
Investing is the same. You want high returns? You must accept uncertainty. You want absolute safety? Your returns will be minimal. You want big wins without risk? You are asking for something that does not exist. The only thing you need to understand is this: you cannot avoid paying the price. You can only choose which price you are willing to pay. The cost of investing is not just money. It is emotional. It is the anxiety when the market is deep in the red. It is the unease when your portfolio takes a dive. It is the moment you want to pull everything out for fear of losing it all. And most people do not fail because they invest incorrectly. They fail because they cannot handle the mental cost that comes with investing correctly. Like climbing a mountain, the higher you go, the stronger the wind. But great climbers are not those who never feel tired. They are those who understand that fatigue is part of the journey. Likewise, great investors are not those untouched by the market swings. They are those who accept volatility as part of the fee and pay it willingly. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is not who faces less risk. It is who clearly understands the price they must pay and accepts it without complaint. Because if you see volatility as a penalty, you will hate it, avoid it, and eventually quit. But if you see it as an entry ticket, the price you pay to play the game of growth, you will stay longer. And only those who stay long enough get to enjoy the view at the top. Have you ever asked yourself, when is enough? How much money is enough for you to feel safe, enough to be happy, enough to stop and breathe? The answer is usually not yet. And that is how the hedonic treadmill controls our lives without us even realizing it. You earn $1 billion. Then you want 10. You change cars. Then you want a plane. You climb to a new social tier, only to find people there who still have more than you. And so another race begins. There is no finish line, no time to rest. Every goal you reach simply creates a new standard you must now maintain, or worse, exceed. Bernie Madoff had everything, but for him, everything was still not enough. He cheated, built a massive Ponzi scheme, and collapsed in disgrace. Rajat Gupta, an extraordinary businessman who rose from poverty, became CEO of McKinsey and served on the board of Goldman Sachs, threw away his reputation for one more profitable deal through insider trading. Not because he needed money, but because he could not stand feeling less than someone else. That is the most dangerous thing about not knowing when enough is enough. You lose control over yourself. You are driven by comparison, by invisible pressure, by the hunger for more, faster, and you do not stop until something forces you to. And often, that something is loss. Enough is a skill. It does not come from how much you have, but from understanding the nature of scarcity. When you know exactly what truly makes you happy, when you are mature enough to realize you do not have to win every race to live a meaningful life, that is when you have overcome what most of the world never will. No one teaches you how to know enough. Schools teach you to win. Society teaches you to spend. Social media teaches you to compare. Only awareness can help you stop in time before you lose what cannot be regained: your time, your integrity, and your inner peace.
Knowing enough does not mean giving up ambition. It means choosing your ambition wisely. Instead of getting rich at any cost, you choose to enrich your life. Instead of racing the world, you race yourself, the better, wiser, more disciplined version of you. And instead of seeing limits as a loss, you see them as a kind of freedom. Freedom from unnecessary pressure. Freedom from the addiction to proving yourself. Freedom from exhausting yourself to become someone you never really wanted to be.
Because sometimes you do not need more. You just need less of what pulls you away from yourself. It is time to pause. Not because there's nothing left to say, but because the most important part needs to be left for you to think about. Throughout this journey, you have seen that money is not just a tool. It is a mirror that reflects who you truly are. It exposes your fears, psychological patterns, childhood memories, greed, discipline, and even the ignorance you once mistook for certainty. Money is never neutral. It reflects you with ruthless honesty. But if you are brave enough to look closely, you will see money is an opportunity to become a more mature version of yourself. You do not need to be a financial genius. You do not need to predict the market. You do not need to be right every time. What you need is self-awareness, the ability to stay calm when the market is in chaos, the strength to remain unmoved by someone else's show of wealth, the courage to say enough when the rest of the world is still running. We have talked about compounding, but there is another form of compounding you must remember. Every time you choose to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively, you are compounding a new version of yourself, wiser, stronger, freer. And that is what I want to leave with you. Money does not define you, but how you behave with money will reveal exactly who you are. You have walked through each layer of awareness. Now it is time to choose to live differently, not letting money control your emotions, not letting the market decide your worth, not letting comparison suffocate your sense of enough, but using money as a tool, not to prove something to anyone, but to build a life you truly deserve to live. Only then will you truly be wealthy, not because you have more, but because you need less to feel enough.